Hello and welcome to Capeside Chats, a Dawson's Creek podcast. I'm Simon, and with me, podcast royalty, one half of Lex and Matt's excellent adventure, formerly the River Court, one half of Capeside Chats, a Dawson's Creek podcast. The notorious B.I.G. once said, "Give me the loot, give me the loot." It's Lex Loots.
What an introduction. I hate that at the next episode, I'm going to have to do the introduction. I'm going to have to think of something better. Thank you. That was amazing.
I thought of that "give me the loot" thing about 3 days ago, while at 3 a.m. while trying to get our son to sleep. And I was like, give me the loot, Lex Loots. That's great.
Yeah. And that's a good way to remember how to pronounce my name, because everyone mispronounces it, at least here, all the time. It's very annoying.
Are they Lutz? Are they saying it like that?
Lutz, yeah. Yeah. And I think that 30 Rock doesn't help. I don't know if you've ever seen 30 Rock, but there's a character on that. And his name in real life is John Lutz. And he goes by Lutz on the show. So I think people hear that and then it's spelled the same. It's just, I don't know why.
Well, now everyone will know. Listen to that Biggie song, and there it is. But Lex, it's been a minute. It is my fault completely. We finished season 2, and then I didn't start season 3 straight away, just with the lockdown and COVID well, it's not ending, but they're easing the restrictions and everything. Work got crazy, and then as people know, I have a baby, and his sleep schedule keeps changing, and it feels like he's crawling and things, so he's more active, he's more exhausting, in a lovely way, but it's
it's like an exciting thing, but he's exhausting.
Exactly. So there's periods where I could watch an episode right now, or I could sleep for 45 minutes, and sleep had been winning. But it's my fault for the delay, but I've been on it hard the last week and a half, and I got through this first half of season 3. So I had sort of loosely suggested to you about maybe we could break this down into 2 episodes and do one podcast episode every half a season. And then you thought that was a good idea. We put it out to a poll. It went to 87% to yes, just release something. Stop making us wait.
Right.
But I also think this is a better way of doing it, because we're talking about the first 12 episodes here of season 3. But say if we got to the end of season 3, it's hard to recall because there's already been so many changes. I mean, how do you feel about breaking these down into 2 podcasts?
So I think for this season, at least, it's very it's actually a really good idea. When you told me what episode you were on, you were like, "Oh, I'm halfway through 12 or whatever." I was like, "Yes, finish 12." And I said, "You'll understand why when you get to the end of episode 12, which you've now watched it. You understand that's building up for this second half of the season. So it really does feel like that. And I don't remember if this was, and I actually could look this up now, if it was a mid-season. That episode was episode 12. No, so this wasn't the break, the break before they go on a Christmas break, like a lot of shows do, and they have a big cliffhanger or anything like that. But it does feel like this is a point in the show of the first half of the season was doing different things. They had Greg Berlanti is running the show now in season 3. So now, do you know who Greg
is? Kevin Williamson? Is Kevin Williamson still writing it at this point? No, he's just gone completely.
He's gone. No.
Crazy.
He eventually comes back. I will say that as a somewhat spoiler. This is, I believe, the first season where he is not controlling the show in that sense. But it's okay. They just struggle. They struggle with kind of trying to reinvent the show. And what's interesting is, though season 3 is loved, there is a lot of criticism of Eve, of the character of Eve.
God,
Uh,
yeah.
yes, of the noir weird mystery that they brought into the show to try to spice things up and change things, and then it just doesn't feel the same. That said, I just rewatched season 3, and I am not moving ahead because I didn't want to like get too far ahead. um I can enjoy it a little bit more in a rewatch now. I don't hate it as much as I used to. I used to be like, ugh, get to like the point where you're at now. Like get to these episodes where it's like grounded again and she's not around and we don't have to deal with that crap. I can enjoy it a little bit more. But yeah, that is and the ratings dipped. That's another thing too. To the point where they thought the show was going to be canceled. Like that heavily was like, yeah, people did not like it. And they brought in different showrunners, different types of writers who I don't think quite understood the show at first. Not Berlanti. Greg Berlanti gets teen dramas and stuff, but he was running it. So, and he's the one who has done I think I mentioned this before on our last episode. Arrow, The Flash, like all of those TV shows within that universe are Greg Berlanti productions. So, I think it was just that they tried something different. It didn't quite work. And then they kind of, the point that the last couple episodes that you've seen is them like steering back into the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of shocked about the Kevin Williamson thing because he's the creator, and you'd think that okay, if he's not going to be the showrunner, you'd think they'd still keep him on as a writer or consultant in some way because it's his baby, So I like just out of a level of respect, but perhaps I'm thinking that studio production is nicer than it actually is. But what I will say is the show feels better. Like where I'm at now feels
Yes.
like the peak of any Dawson's Creek episode that I've seen. And as I've said all the way through this podcast, I'm really enjoying the show. I have some points that I definitely want to make in regards to that. But I think the cinematography of it has increased. Like some of the I mean, it's still the same backdrops, but the way that it's being filmed, I don't know whether that's because they've got a higher budget now, so they've got cranes and things, but some of the shots as they're like moving in to frame and the backdrops and the way that it's lit or the time of, I don't know, it just looks higher definition. I mean, is that known? Is that like for a particular reason?
I'm not sure if that's known. I was actually just looking up real quick of like what Greg Berlanti, I'm sorry, Kevin Williamson was doing in this time. And so he left and he made he was at this time he had written Teaching Mrs. Tingle, which by the way starred Katie Holmes. And then he did Scream 3 the next year. So that's like he was really a big name. And then he ends up doing Cursed, which did you ever see Cursed?
No.
Directed, I believe that was directed by Wes Craven as well. And Joshua Jackson is like the star of that one. I saw it in theaters. It's not good, but but like it had Joshua Jackson in it. So I was like, ticket, like horror film sold. So yes, I do think that the production increases. I think that's another reason why they were on the verge of cancellation. It's a huge hit. And, what were the contracts like for the actors at that time? I don't know the details of that. I also think that money could have been a thing with Kevin Williamson. I remember reading a long time ago, and if anyone wants to send me information on that, that'd be great. But I remember reading that maybe he was fighting with the studios at one point or something like that at the WB, and that might have been one of the reasons why he was like, I'm done with this. But he does kind of like respect the changes that they make and how they keep the show going. But yeah, I do think that it does feel like they got a bigger budget, right? I mean, they crash a boat in the first episode. It's I mean, it's faked, but like it looks good. Like it looks like this is messed up. They have that, huge party. It does feel different for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. I mean, this is always going to happen to compare it to One Tree Hill from the
Right.
nature that we both, were part of or are part of One
Hmm.
Tree Hill podcasts. But there are tone shifts in every season of One Tree Hill. It
Yes.
changes slightly, and it feels like the tone has shifted in season 3 of Dawson's Creek, but it feels like it's shifted. The characters are becoming a lot more likable. Like particularly
Yes.
Jen. I really like Jen this season, and that has
I
been a
told you. I told you to wait and trust me and listen to me.
I
That
do.
this is Jen has to go through what she goes through for you to see her in this particular situation where you love her now. Like she is, but she has to go through all of that bullshit to appreciate family, to connect to Jack and Grams in that way, and to have their little family dynamic that they have.
Yeah, and I love that, and it does feel like that way because even where she's making mistakes and errors still in the show, like her character is still flawed as they all are.
Yeah.
It's you still like her at the core because I think you understand her more. I am looking forward to rewatching Dawson's Creek once we've finished and I can watch it again because I think you get this sense of that you feel like the characters. And so when you're watching even like season 1, where even the writers probably haven't fleshed out the characters fully in terms of their trajectory, because where they end up, it's like, oh well, I know that you're going to end up okay. Oh Jen, I know that you
Right.
eventually you're gonna
Right.
you're gonna learn from this and get through it. So it makes it's like the comfort viewing, of why you and I and everybody else, people, anyone listening to this, I'm sure enjoy rewatching familiar shows that we love because it has
True.
that comfort to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I I remember originally watching it and having problems with Jen. And I watch it now and I have problems with Jen, but I also have problems with Joey. I have problems with every character. Like you said, every character is flawed. Every character has their issues. But the one thing I was looking forward to was you seeing the dynamic that they set up when there's a lot of healing done between Jack, Grams, and Jen. Like all three of these characters really come into each other's lives and they heal parts of themselves that are so broken. Like, I think it expands Grams and her mind, and it kind of shows that like you're never too old to become a better person. They haven't addressed everything, but I think she's becoming, you can see it's just slowly they're breaking her down a little bit. um I think Jack needs a family. He's never had one. Same with Jen. They both really need that relationship. And, they have this brother sister dynamic. Um, I'm thinking if I can say that, if I like, I'm going to hold off on a particular thought because I think that it will resonate later. But the 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 Jack and Jen relationship in particular, how they're exploring him playing football and her becoming the cheerleader. They are not, he's the art kid, Remember that's how he was introduced to
Mm-hmm.
us on the show.
Mm-hmm.
She's the like yes, she's like pretty blonde girl. And yes, he's tall, dark, and handsome boy. But like she's like a grungy girl at the same time, like a party girl. And then she's head cheerleader. Gets it because she's hilarious. So they're really just taking things and they're just throwing it out there and giving characters all new ideas. And some of it is great, like those are great, and then some of it is Eve, like you know.
Yeah, I think all of the characters are developed really well except for one. But we
Mm,
can get to that. Just the inclusion of sport. I said
yeah.
this to you when we were messaging. I love that. I love when, I mean, obviously One Tree Hill, but I love sport in movies and TV shows in general when it's used to propel the story correctly or in a good way. It's a great medium to tell stories. And I love that that's been included. And I never expected that at all. I never thought we'd get any sport. And I love this American football. That's great. And I love that Mitch is the coach. I thought that was good.
Yes.
Finally, he has something to do there. which is
Well,
cool.
and that kind of adds a dynamic between Mitch and Dawson as well, right? Because you get that they've always been close, but they have this father-son separation because Dawson is a more artistic kid, and you realize, oh, Mitch is kind of a jock. Like,
Mhm.
and there's crossover between the two, but I've always thought that was a really interesting thing, like to have them have a bit of that conflict.
And also Mitch showed how he is a devoted parent in saying that,
Mhm.
well, Dawson, I go to sleep with the third encounters, theme tune in my head.
Yeah.
And that, he does these things that he's not necessarily that into, which I think was a good shot. That's kind of the epitome of Dawson, I think, is that he can throw his toys out of the pram. Is that an expression that you have in America?
Out of the what?
Out of the pram, we say
No.
like threw the toys out of the pram. It's like a baby throwing their toys out of
What's a
pram.
pram?
A pushchair.
A push
Baby, we
a
put
stroller?
baby there. A stroller. Yeah,
A
stroller.
stroller. Wow. This is the first time I think we've encountered a really big difference in language. A pram.
We call it
Interesting.
we call it a pram or a buggy.
I've heard buggy. Old school ones were called buggies, I think. That, like, when my grandparents were little babies. That was the thing. Okay, so a stroll. Okay, so the expression for our American listeners would be like pushing the toys out of the stroller.
Mm-hmm,
Our
mm-hmm.
British and everyone else who does it, pushing toys out of the pram. So continue with your this metaphor.
Yeah, he says like throwing a tantrum, throwing the toys
Yeah.
out the pram. So he sort of does that, gets on a high horse of this, that, and the other, this, that, and the other. And it's generally from a very narrow perspective of that he's
Yes.
only seeing himself and he's not seeing anybody outside of himself. And then you get, usually it's Joey that's sort of centering him, or Pacey, Jen sometimes, but they haven't been interacting as much in this season. But when Mitch said it like that, it was like, no, actually, that's not right. I watch, all this Spielberg stuff, and maybe it's not necessarily what I want to be watching, but I do it to connect with you. And then Dawson, the anchor drops and he gets it. And I think that's very much his character trait. And I didn't feel that way as much at the beginning of season one,
Mhm.
because I was saying he was my guy. This is my Lucas, right? And I very much feel, unfortunately, I do see a lot of traits in Dawson that I see in myself, and that's
He's
not
very
necessarily a
he's
good
very
thing.
lost in the beginning of this season. And I think that some of that loss is the separation from Joey.
Mm,
Because they do emphasize that, like you just said, she sets him right. She's usually the one to do it, correct? Like,
mm-hmm,
that's why they talk about soulmates and everything like that.
mm-hmm,
She sets him to true north. She is ultra realistic, grounded person to the point of cynicism. He is
mm.
head in the clouds, dreamer all the time. They're the yin and the yang. Like that is how they interact with each other. And both of them are kind of spiraling out a little bit, like they're on separate paths. But what I like is that they start to right the ship without each other.
Mm.
They do start to form this full, like, Dawson in the beginning, or at the end of season, or not season, episode one, he's saying, like, another year like last year, and there will be nothing left between us. Like, we can't keep doing this. And he's right in that moment. He's right to go, we need separation, because they do need to grow outside of themselves. And Joey kind of saw that before when she went on her art journey, but she didn't quite stick with it. And I think that he does this time, because he understands that, like, she was right. It's kind of a retroactive, like, oh, she was right. We need to take time apart. We need to figure out our own things. Um Dawson is So the let me look at okay. So the criticism of his Witch Island film,
Mm.
I think he takes very heavily. It feels realistic. Like it feels like this is the first criticism he's ever like really had in his entire life. And that is a big part of this as well. Like his like sorry, I'm reading this to I'm trying to be very careful right now.
Of the spoilers, yeah.
Right, because we have only this first half of the season and it all kind of blends together to me. But yes, you've seen the episode where he's at the film festival.
Yeah, Nikki's been
Yeah.
introduced, and she was the star of the festival, the tournament, the contest, but didn't win. And he didn't want to
Yes.
compliment her film. He said it was technically good or sound or something.
Such
It
a shit moment for him.
really was. It really
Yeah.
was. But
Yeah.
he's sort of brought it round in the end, as he always does. But yeah, there was a trashy thing to do, especially
He's
because he did enjoy it, you know?
he's very self-centered. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, that's a theme of this season for him.
Mm.
That's something that you see, and it's even him pushing Joey away is a self-centered move. It's him, and sometimes when you're doing a selfish thing, it can be beneficial to others as well. So him doing that though is him just trying to save himself. He
Mm.
is like, I can't deal with this pain anymore. Like I just
Mm.
cannot deal with it. Did you notice, by the way, that his hair is darker at the beginning of the season?
Uh, no. Is that so? Is this isn't his natural hair color at all? Is it not?
No, the blonde is his natural hair color, but he films Varsity Blues, I want to say, in the summer.
Ah,
So I think his hair is, if I'm not mistaken, is a little bit darker in the beginning of the season. And it's like it always thrown me off a little bit.
and that's ironic because he's a football player in that one, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's right around, it ends up being released, I think, in 2000. I think that's when Varsity Blues came out, which is a good movie. If anyone wants to see him in a completely different type of role, um, he's still kind of a golden boy, but he's like an athlete. He's like, it's a different type of role for James Van Der Beek.
I really like that movie. Yeah, I
Yeah, me
only
too.
watched it for the first time like last year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like football that much. Um I'm casual fan of it, but I like that movie. There's certain football stuff that I enjoy.
Can I
Um
just say one thing that
yeah.
I this is a hair spoiler as we're talking about hair.
Yes.
So episode 12 that I just watched, so they've just rejigged it on Netflix so that it has the original theme tune in it. This is a whole thing. This is a whole thing. I put
Yeah, we
something
can
out
talk
on
about
Inst-
that now.
Yeah, I put something out on Instagram to say, hashtag not my theme tune. I say that because in
Right.
from the beginning I was introduced to Run Like Mad, which I love, and
Yes.
it runs like mad through my head day in and day out all of the
Yeah.
time. Intro comes on, I will never skip it because I want to hear it. I want to see them frolicking on the beach. I want to feel
Mm-hmm.
good about myself, my life, if that's what
Yeah.
that does. And then this new one comes on. Um, I don't want
I
to
don't want to
wait.
wait.
Now that
Yeah.
also gets stuck in my head, but it doesn't have the same. Again, I know it's just because I was introduced to the other one first, but it doesn't have the same vibe for the intro. It slows it down and makes it a little more melodramatic. What do you think?
Well, I have a soft spot for both because I watch the DVDs, and on my DVDs, I don't know if yours will be this way, but the first two seasons were I don't want to wait. For some reason they secured it for that. And then 3 forward, it's the Run Like Mad. And I know that Run Like Mad was made because they didn't think that they could get I don't want to wait. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Hand in My Pocket by Alanis Morissette was also thrown around at one point, and they do play that at some point on the show, but I don't know. I don't know if that's different as well. I did find my full season, or I'm sorry, series finale DVD that's individual that has the extended cut. So we'll evaluate that when we get to the end game, if we're gonna, try to watch it that way or how we're gonna do that. But
Oh,
yeah,
we should do a live watch of that with the peoples.
I think so. I think that would be a good idea. But yeah, when I hear I don't want to wait, I think of Dawson's Creek. And then Run Like Mad is also there, but it's just not the same. I do skip Run Like Mad. I will skip
How
because it
dare
gets in
you?
your head. It
How dare
does.
you?
I don't skip. I don't want to wait.
There is.
Typically.
That's what it says. People, let us know what is
Yeah.
your theme tune. But
Maybe you can do a poll on that. Or you did
yeah,
do a poll. Or did you just have people answering questions? I can't
no.
remember.
I mean, people love to interact on the Dawson's Creek stuff on
Yes.
Instagram, which I love. I just put something out saying, this wasn't the theme tune I was introduced to, and I was flooded with the DMs, but I love it. I love it all. I love how passionate
Yeah.
people
We'll do a
are.
poll then, and then we'll talk about the poll at the second half of this season to see what people prefer. Because I'd be curious to see if there's anyone who also prefers Run Like Mad.
I guess it depends on if there's other people like me that have watched it for the first time, which I know there are. I have a few
There
people
definitely are. Yeah.
I have a few people watching with me that are, and also I have to apologize to those people because they're like, "Can you hurry up and watch because we want to watch," and they want
They're
to.
watching it for the first time with you?
Yeah, for sure. Tahani's watching for the first time, and Jake watched for the first time, but he got all the way through and just
I
smashed
don't
it.
blame you, Jake. Yeah, I don't blame you. But for anyone who is like watching along, I'm so proud of you. That's so exciting. I thought that anyone listening to the show or watching us on your YouTube channel would be like diehard old school Dawson's Creek fans like me. So that's really cool and I'm glad we're keeping it spoiler free just for that alone.
Yeah, we've introduced new people to the show, so that's really
That's
cool.
great. I'm
But
excited.
what the point I was getting to was that episode 12, they've changed the intro, like as in not the intro music, the actual intro, the visuals
Oh
have
no.
changed slightly, and they've showed Dawson with really long hair. I was like, well, I haven't seen that yet. I don't know if this was an error because they've just updated it on Netflix or
His
something.
No, his hair is very long in season 1, bud. That's it.
No, but this isn't season one footage. It's not season one. I'm talking long, like to here long, like to his neck sort of long. This is
Okay.
Dawson
I,
hair we haven't seen yet.
we're going to let me watch the intro real quick on Netflix. Oh damn it, I'm
But
not
your
signed in.
Netflix might be different. You're
That's
watching
true. Well,
Atlantic
now I want
across
you
the
to
ocean.
okay, next time when you watch episode 13, pause real quick, send me a video of the
Okay.
intro as you're watching it because I'm very curious. Because I will say that like James Vanderbeek's hair is the longest I think it's been in season 1.
I'm pretty sure this isn't
I'm pulling
mate.
up pictures. It's
Okay,
okay. Let me.
now I'm worried that it is because they showed bits of the intro from season one with Pacey, when he's like doing this
Let
again.
me.
No, it's longer than that.
It is
Yeah.
interesting. Oh wait, hold on.
In season one, the intro is so specific. This is what this podcast is about, where Pacey and Joey are sort of like with their
Okay, do
backs
you
on
want
the.
me to show you a picture of a future season that only shows Dawson's hair to see if that was it? Or do you just prefer not to?
I think I've seen images. It's not a spoiler because it's just his hair, but I think I have. Yeah, show it. It's not going to be a
Okay,
spoiler.
there's nothing else in it.
Oh no, it's not like that. That he looks very angry there.
I don't know what's going on in that episode, but that's now I'm fascinated of this longer hair.
Right, hang on. Let me say this.
Wait. Is it this? Why are we doing this?
No, it's not this. This
Damn.
is anyone that's listening to this. This is good reason to go and watch this. Watch the video on YouTube of this episode. let me say this.
Yes.
There's, the part in the season 1 intro
Yeah.
where Pacey and Joey are sort of like shuffling their backs on the
Yeah, they're
on the
doing the Baloo from the
Ah,
Jungle Book.
that's what that is.
That's what that's what it always reminded me of.
That makes sense. Right. They show that part in this new intro. It's like they're showing bits from each of the season intros, but then there's bits that was new that I haven't seen that. And Dawson's got really long hair. Right. Yes, I will check. In fact, when we finish this episode, I'll bring
I'm
it up. I'll
almost
bring it up
I'm
on my phone and we'll
okay,
watch
yeah,
it
I'm
together.
almost angry about this. I will too. I'm not signed in for some reason on my, and I don't remember the password off the top of my head, so I'd have to look it up. I'm almost upset that like it might be
Well, I
showing
am
me
upset. I
things.
mean, this
No,
is
I would be too.
I've said this about Netflix before. They emailed me. I posted it up. They said,
Yep.
"Hey Simon, are you going to keep watching Dawson's Creek?" It's almost like they were getting on me about it as well. And it was pictures of him with long. It was pictures of him kissing Joey, and it was before they had got together in the show.
Might as well just show Jimmy shooting up Capeside.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Oh, mouth. Lee Norris was in the last episode. I just
Yes.
saw.
I was so excited for you to get to that point. Yeah.
He had a
There's
line.
Lee
He had
Norris.
one. He had one line. Little Lee, little mouth.
Literally. Yeah, so him, and then obviously last season we had Jimmy on there
Yeah,
dealing with
yeah,
Abby and stuff. So yeah, and this is 4 years before One Tree Hill premieres.
man, yeah. And the
Because
acting
this is
that those two.
1999 to 2000. That's the season. The
Right, right,
99 to
right,
2000 season. Yeah.
right. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, after this, I'll bring it up and we can
Yeah.
we can watch together. But season 3, right? So okay, let's talk about Eve.
All
Really
about
annoyed
Eve.
me.
That's the theme of this episode, guys, because the first half of the season is all about Eve. Yeah.
Oh God, but can we get okay? Can we give her a little bit of spotlight and just get her out because she annoyed me so much from the beginning because she was such a just there as a
She
device to get Dawson to mix things up a bit like Felix in One Tree Hill in season 2, just a
Yes.
douchebag to come and mix it up.
I would be hard pressed to say that she is not the most hated character on Dawson's Creek. And that includes Abby. There is one other
Oh, Abby.
character there that is in other seasons in the future, which if anyone is curious what that is, they can message me and I will let them know. But yeah. She's
I
she's
re- I recognize her from
I
stuff though, right? Was she in like what
I
was
know
she
she was
in?
in Joe Dirt. That's
Okay.
um
I recognize her from stuff, but I mean her whole thing of I'm a stripper. No, I'm not. I'm a high school student. No, I'm not. I'm staying in this boat. No, I'm Jen's like sister or half sister. Craziness, which makes me feel like
yeah,
she's gonna come back. That makes me
right.
they can't not tie that bow together. But the way that you're
Um
talking about her is like, it doesn't sound like she's going to have a redemption arc. It sounds like she's just going to remain as a douchebag.
I don't know. On One Tree Hill, there is a certain sister that appears and then reappears later, causes
Taylor,
trouble.
Taylor. Right, right, right.
Okay, so she was in the Basketball Diaries.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that. Maybe it's
Yeah.
from that.
She was on, oh, that's right. She was in, did you ever watch That 70s Show?
Yeah.
Okay, so she was Eric's cousin that like made him
Right.
think that they weren't cousins to mess with him.
Okay.
She was in White Chicks,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
a couple of the Wayans brothers movies, and most recently she has been on the show Blackish.
Oh,
And
okay. I've
that's
seen all of those. So
right. Yeah, that's a good show. And then oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, okay. She was on It's Always she was on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Have you watched It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I've seen like the first season and a half.
Okay. Well, somewhere in that time, and we have to remember, guys, that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has been on for like 17 years at this point. like literally. They had a character, and it was, she was supposed to be trans, and it was she is cisgender. She was supposed to be formerly male, now female, and the show like ended up like being like, no, she's a woman. Like, why are you even debating this? Like, what, you know? But it was it's a thing that now would they have cast her would have been a controversy, I think.
Where they
But yeah,
cast her to play someone that was
is
not
a
female.
trans female.
Got
No,
you,
no, no.
got you,
Is
got
a
you.
is a trans female. So, but like
Right,
she
right,
is
right.
in RIL, she is a cisgender woman. So, you know, there's
I
that
don't know
whole
what that means.
um born a woman
Right. Okay.
biologically.
Got you, got
That's,
you. Did you
I
say
want to make sure I don't say
cis?
cisgender. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
So
Good learning. I didn't know
I'm
that.
biologically a woman, born a woman, feel like a woman, ever, you know, I'm a woman, you're a man, you're, so like I am a cisgender woman. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with your sexuality. You're a cisgender man. It has nothing
Mm,
to do with your sexual orientation. It's
got
that's
you.
specific to gender. So, yeah.
Got you. Well, that's good. Good
Yeah,
learnings. When you
yeah, something new.
how are you spelling that?
Uh CIS and gender.
CIS.
Cisgender.
Got you.
Yeah.
Cool. There we go. Good
Yeah.
learnings. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I get what you're saying. It's like, we talked about this before, I think. As my go-to is always with Prison Break, that Wentworth Miller is
Yeah.
famously now will only play homosexual characters, and we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about, talking about and then conversing about that because,
Well,
yeah,
and we discussed Jack, like the actor is straight who plays him. So that's
yeah,
a whole thing that can be controversial, can't be. Um,
he's a
but
great actor. He is
I
my
know.
I okay, and what a 180 on him. But I would go as far as to say it would be split between Pacey and Jack for my favorite character at this point.
And I completely understand it. Sometimes I cringe with Jack after he comes out at the things that he does, but not because they're wrong, but because they are so perfectly written and acted. I'm like, oh, I remember feeling that way, or I remember doing that, or whatever. It's very well done.
I mean, it feels okay. I might get some heat for this from our One Tree Hill fans here, but I watched One Tree Hill for the first time when I was 23, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
figured that was a good age for me to watch it because I was coming into my adulthood, and it was helpful to me in thinking about different things and reconciling and all these other things. Watching Dawson's Creek now as a 34-year-old, it feels like it's the right time for me to watch this one. Just more in terms of it feels like a more adult show than One Tree Hill. One Tree Hill, I just watched a One Tree Hill episode after, like straight
Mm-hmm.
after for our podcast, and the tone is so completely, and it's season
It
3 of One
is.
Tree Hill, coincidentally,
Yeah.
and tone is so completely different. Like it's so much more, got so many more comedy aspects to it. I love
Yeah.
One Tree Hill. It's my favorite show. I'm not hating, but they are very different, like apples and oranges, I would say, even though they have a lot of similar storylines and aesthetics, but they are pitched very different. Like the high school experiences, it's all completely different, and it's so much
Well,
more
that's,
sentimental. Dawson's Creek, I would
yeah.
say.
Well, that's the beauty of it too. Like that's why I've rewatched both shows over the years. They're two completely different things. And the comparisons were there because the year that Dawson's Creek ended was the year that One Tree Hill started.
Mm.
And they've played with, like, you know, the theme, like we've talked about this before, like the themes of Anna, or, you know, things like that have crossed over or even possibly been lifted from Dawson's Creek. And so there's lots of, you know, crossover things going on. I I understand that though. Like we've talked about how I love One Tree Hill as well. Like it is such an important show to me. I watched it, as I was growing up, but I found Dawson's Creek first. And I still gravitate towards Dawson's Creek when I'm in really rough situations, especially. It feels like a warm blanket of a show. It's comforting. Especially the last episode that you just watched. That's one of the episodes that I think of. The scene where they're around the fire and it's crackling and they're all talking about
The
what
smells.
scent they love the most. I had that question in school when I was a teenager, and I did think of snow as well. Snow and rain. And snow does, I don't know. Do you guys get snow there?
Yeah.
Snow has a distinct smell. It's different from rain. And I know plenty of people who've never seen snow because I live in a tropical area. But like I try to explain to them, like, it is different. Like it's just, there is something about it. But that scene where they're talking about such, like, it feels so intimate and beautiful. And like when Jack's like kickapoo juice, like I remember almost every line of that. It's filled with love and sentiment, and it's just so beautiful. That's one of my favorite episodes of the season, so I'm glad that you ended up watching it.
I love that episode. That episode was great. There's been on a run of about the last 3 or 4 have been
Yes.
like all tens. Like if we were rating them on like our Raven scale, I would have rated them all as tens. And do you know what I think is a really good example? So again, remember, I love One Tree Hill. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. This isn't anything to discredit any of it. But a character like Dan Scott
Mhm.
couldn't exist in Dawson's Creek, or if they did
No.
exist in Dawson's Creek, it would have to be treated very differently. They wouldn't be so sinister. And I love Dan. He's one of my favorite characters of One Tree Hill. And I like the fact that it's different. If it was too
Yeah.
similar, then I don't think I could enjoy it on its own merits, because I would like with the theme tune, I'd feel like, well, I was introduced to One Tree Hill first, so it would be difficult for me to enjoy it in the same way. But because I see them as different, it's perfect. You can enjoy. There might be a mood where I want to, and One Tree Hill goes through the emotions. I mean, like the school shooting episode,
Yeah.
there's so much drama and there's no comical
Yes.
moments going on there, and all of the relationships, and it is incredibly deep, but then it also has a lot of the light side to it, where Dawson's Creek, from what I've seen anyway so far, is it does have some comedy moments here and there, but it's a bit more, it's grounded and feels
Yes.
more realistic, apart from like the language that people are using. And again, I think of it as the idea of that they're not in high school. I have to think of them as like they're in their early 20s and they just have a very high vocabulary, because that
I
feels more realistic to me.
I think of them as the 18-year-olds who are going to college for the first time and think that they are so much smarter than they actually are.
Right. Yeah, that
So like
works.
they do seem a couple years older than they are, because they're like 16 roughly in this. Dawson I think is 16 at this point. But yeah, like they're all roughly at 16 or turning 16. The show starts when they're 15. And yeah, and they seem just a few years older, but they have that vibe of like, I'm so intellectual. I've got everything figured out. I've read these books and these movies and I've got it all. And then we, of course, look at it and we're like, you have no idea. And then someone who's 10 years older than us goes, you have no idea. And 10 years older than that, they have no idea. It's just, that's a part of life. Like you don't understand the next chapter until you're in it, you know? And that's the beauty of it as well, and I like the language on the show. I like the vernacular.
Same.
I understand it's not for everyone, but like, I mean, we both love Scream. It's one of the best horror films of all time. It's one of my all-time favorites, like up
Oh.
there with Halloween. The dialogue is very similar to this. It's pop culture, it's quick, it's you have to know things word for word. It's just different.
I like it because we're
Yeah.
it's like, well, we are aware that we're not watching real life, so it's okay to have that element feel fictitious but
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it. It's like we all wish we could speak that eloquently,
Yeah.
and no, I'm a really big fan. I'm really enjoying it. I think if we could go back to Jack and his journey through this first half of the season
Yeah.
and him becoming, I don't know, more acquainted with his sexuality, or starting to feel it out and starting to and feel what he's comfortable with, and pushing outside of his comfort levels, but also being pushed by people, and some of the, like you said, being in the football team and him
Mm-hmm.
having expectations of how he's going to be treated and actually being supported in a different way. I found it all, it's been some of my favorite storylines, and I think they've treated it really well. Like, I mean, I'm not, I can't talk from the perspective of, shared experience,
Right.
but from what how it's felt really good to me. Like, I've really enjoyed it. I mean, what do you think? How have you found it? Well,
I
how do you
completely
find
agree.
it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I can talk from the experience of, going through a lot of the things that Jack goes through. Although he's going through, um, gay men have their own struggles because our culture doesn't like men that aren't like hyper masculine, straight, like assholes. Like that's a problem. And it was even worse in the 90s. Like it's better now. It's getting better, but there's still so much work to be done there. So I can't say I relate to that perspective of it, but like obviously everything else, like there are a lot of similarities of what people go through. Um, what's interesting is that, not to completely shift it away from Jack, but I love Jack's story and I love that it's continuing, is that the other sibling, the other McPhee,
Oh gosh.
has a very, very fucking rough start here. Um, I mean, Andy is rough. Like it's rough to deal with her.
I could do without Andy. Period. Full stop. We say full stop here. Are you familiar with a full stop?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That one I am.
Yeah, I mean, from the beginning, I couldn't believe the betrayal of Pacey. That cut super deep because we enjoyed Andy. I say we because we talked about how we enjoyed her in season 2, and I
Mm-hmm.
definitely did. And she balanced Pacey out so well. And she was sort of like what Joey does for Dawson, but in a
Yes.
different
Yeah.
way to Pacey. And I really, and like when you were saying that earlier, I can really appreciate that because Effany does that for me, and
Mm-hmm.
is very always helps with my perspective, whether it be work or personal, and helps me um ingest things, digest things. I don't know what I'm saying, but she's I need her here. She helps with all of those things, so I can relate to that and can appreciate that at the
That's
beginning.
a thing that I seek in a partner. Like when I try to find like a girl or a woman that I'm compatible with, like I respond to that as well. Like, can you offer me a different perspective? Can you see things from another angle? Can we talk things through in that way? So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, and not being scared to challenge someone and be like,
Yes.
no, that's garbage, you were wrong there, you shouldn't have spoken to that person like that, or you shouldn't have said this, or you
I
should have done it
love
this way.
that. Yeah.
And yeah, it's great. It's not always the easiest to hear, but usually it's like, oh god, oh man, okay,
Yeah.
I gotta
Oh,
write an
you're
email.
right. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but but yeah, so she balanced him out so well. So she was such a great character,
Mm-hmm.
and then she just comes in like a wrecking ball, some might say,
Yeah.
just destroying things. But then, even as it's gone on, even to now, she's just been a pain. Like, she's getting better, but she has very much been on her own journey. Like all the other characters they've kind of separated into different groups. Like we've said, we've got Jen and Jack, which is a great little sort of coupling. We've had Pacey and Joey at times, and I guess we'll talk about where that ends up. And then we've had Dawson with some of the smattering of the characters, but with Eve and whatever. And then we've had Jack with the football team, and with Henry and going down his journey. Then we've had Andy, and she's kind of been on her own. Like there was a bit where she was dating the douchebag that worked with Joey before she got fired.
Yeah.
And that was really rough.
And possibly lies about him attempting to assault her.
Right. I was going to ask.
Not like that story. That is one of the few things that I'm like, that they shouldn't have done that. They really shouldn't have. Because it makes it look like, I know it's just one example, but it makes it look like women, especially women who have mental health issues, will lie about something like that to manipulate to get what they want, which would be, in her perspective, she wants Pacey to come rescue her, and that's why she did it. And I'm not saying that could never happen ever. Statistically, not likely. Like if you look at false claims, it's on par with every other, a false claim of murder, a false like any other crime. So that's one of the few things that I'm not a fan of. But at the same time, I just don't even know what to do with Andy. She's just falling apart.
It feels like she's a bit of a loose end that they throw in here and there. But I think in that episode, in that instance, it was definitely written to imply that that's what happened, because they made the point of going, I forget what his character's name is, the douchebag.
I don't remember his name either. He's Drew. No. Oh no. Let's
just call him douche.
He's a fucking douchebag, and I don't want to defend him at all. Because he sexually harasses Joey forever.
And she's a minor or underage or whatever.
And he's 24, 25 or something like that, dating a high school girl. This dude is bad news.
For sure, but they made a point of getting the coverage of him being like, that never happened. And then him coming to, I forget who he went to. He went to
Joey.
Right, and saying that's not true, it's not true. But I think the performance and the way it was implied that actually he was telling the truth, and that he is a douchebag, but in this instance that Andy was lying. It was kind of odd because they didn't revisit that.
No, and I'm they never pick up that thread again. They just don't. I think you are meant to assume, based off of what he says and then how Andy responds to Joey, which was really fucking weird. Where she's like, look, everything ended up okay. It's fine. Haha. Whatever. I think you were meant to come to the conclusion that she lied.
Yeah.
That she knew he was an asshole and either picked him specifically, or she just got that vibe from him while they were going on the date. And then she was like, nah, whatever. And then she made this up to try to get Pacey to come save her. And bravo to Pacey for how he handled it, which was he took care of things and took care of her, but he did not have to forgive her, and he didn't. He's like, no, this doesn't fix everything, but I'm still going to take care of you. I'm still going to make sure you're safe. I'm still going to look out for you.
Yeah, it feels like Pace. Dawson made this point in the last episode of saying, I basically saying, I thought that Andy had made you into a better person, and then I thought that when she would be subtracted from the mix, that you would go back to previous behavior or whatever. And actually you haven't. You've continued being this great guy. So I think maybe that's evidence to say that she helped him get onto a path that he wanted to be on, or was destined to be on, or just needed nudging into. But actually people can do that, and then they don't have to be constant. How they say people come in and out of your life, and then you do have your constants if you're lucky enough. And that she was helpful in that way, and that's good, and I'm sure he was helpful to her as well. But you know, some things aren't forever, and I really hope that doesn't. I don't want Andy and Pacey together. Like,
Okay.
I'm not for that. I feel like maybe she should go now.
You're like, just kill her. Just like throw her in the lake. Just like yeah. No,
I
I'm kidding.
think I said. I think I. Oh no, I said it about Eve. I was like, someone give Eve a bottle of alcohol and send her to the pier where Abby was. Let's just
Yep.
get her gone.
R.I.P. No. Yeah, I at the point where you're at, I agree. I completely agree with Andy. Andy, first of all, Andy does not need a boyfriend right now. That girl has problems that she needs to work on alone. And some things you can work on with someone, and some things you can work on separately. I think that her actions have proven the fact that she cheated on her boyfriend, who was very supportive and very there for her, and very much, let's go on this journey together, proves that she can't be in a relationship in this instance. She cannot take care of another person in that way. And not take care of, you understand what I mean, like a foster a relationship in that situation and be there for him in that way.
For sure. For sure. Sorry, my dog wants to come in.
No, it's okay. I think that it's interesting. Okay. So we discussed Andy, we discussed Jack and Jen. How are you feeling about Joey and Pacey, who have developed this friendship? Dawson, sent him to look after her, and they've always had, like, cat and dog fighting type of thing. We saw him that one time in season 1 where he was like, oh, maybe she's actually cute and everything, like he saw her that way for the first time, and then they threw that away. But now they have this really deepening friendship that is, and he's not dating anyone. Like, there's no love interest. She's, kind of doing her own thing as well. But he's doing things like helping with the bed and breakfast.
Yeah. Can I ask a quick question about the bed and breakfast? I'm not
Yes.
100% clear. This isn't
Okay.
at their house, is it? This is at a
Yes.
separate location, or is it at
No,
their
it is their
house?
house. It is their
Right.
house. Bed and breakfasts are very common in that area. So sometimes people live in them, sometimes they don't, I think. And a lot of times you take old homes and you convert them into having their own separate rooms. And then they usually shared bathrooms, but like they're these beautiful old homes that you can stay in rather than a hotel that's like kind of, cold and all the same. And then, as it implies, you get like, really well cooked meals and things like that.
Yeah, I
It's big
liked
for
it.
like honeymoons and anniversary trips and romantic vibes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have bed and breakfast here too, but different to that. I've stayed in one in America before, in off of Seattle, and it was lovely. I loved it. So
Yeah. They are living in it though. There's no other option for them.
yeah, yeah,
And they've
yeah.
put basically everything into this. So, yeah,
Yeah, and the ice house is gone, and yeah.
it is. Yes.
So I did predict this, but in a different way. I said that I think that there will be a period where it will be Pacey and Joey, and then it will go back to being Dawson and Joey at some point, and that will be like the end game. And I still think that that will be the case. I feel like it would be crazy if it didn't end up as Dawson and Joey at the end, unless they do it to just be like, well, you thought that was going to happen, and actually sometimes these things don't work out. But
I
I
think
feel
it's interesting that you've already come to the conclusion that the feelings would be reciprocated,
for Joey and
because
Pacey,
with Joey reciprocating this feeling that he's developing for her, because she has very much not liked that vibe,
well, I'm saying this because also I think, well, I'm not 100% sure if it will actually
Mhm.
happen, but that it was seeded in the last couple of episodes. So the
Yes.
one where they were dancing, they were doing the ballroom dancing.
Yeah.
And Pacey gave a great speech to Dawson, basically saying this. He said something like, this woman is a goddess, and you're,
Mhm.
is, right in front of you, and being a dick, basically. He said
Yeah.
it in a lot better words. It was
Yeah.
more eloquent, but same sentiment. Could have just said
Yeah.
it like that, Pacey would have been a lot quicker. But that was kind of seeded in that his maybe seeing her like a goddess as well. And
Yeah, and I don't deny that. Like that is what they are showing at the end of this episode that you just watched. Grams talks about it in the beginning, or in that scene where she's like, you love someone when you can just watch them peacefully sleep by a fire and everything like that. So yes, Pacey has feelings for Joey. Like, I don't think that's a thing that you can deny at this point. So I feel you on that. I'm just like, I'm like, but like it's like, it just feels like, is Joey going to be at that point with him? Because she's so like Dawson. It's always been that way. It's the same with anytime Dawson goes off with someone else, or yeah, he develops feelings for other people, but like,
but maybe she needs that change of gear. Like she needs someone that's going to be, dare I say it, less whiny, and a bit more
yeah,
lighthearted with these things. And again, I'm not. I have my whiny moments too. I'm watching. Do you know? I said last season, I feel like I could feel myself being a combination of Dawson and Pacey. Now I could feel myself being a combination of Dawson, Pacey, and Jack. Because
yeah,
I see some of the I really like the way he handles himself and the way he carries himself. I think he is a really nuanced character. I
yes.
think. Yeah, he's pop Funko worthy. If the does he have a pop Funko?
No, 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 no. They only did the core four, as far as I know.
Trash,
Wait, did they
trash.
did they do Jen? I know they did Pacey, Dawson, and Joey. That was
Wow.
actually a really funny thing that just happened where Joshua Jackson was messing with his wife, being like, because she was like, oh yeah, they did the core four. So Pacey, Jen, Joey, and Dawson. Um, he was Joshua Jackson was mocking his wife because she was like, I just want a Funko Pop, and he was like, I got three, like he from all of the things that he's done, from
Mighty Ducks.
Fringe, Mighty Ducks, and then this. So yeah.
Do you know, it's funny. I'm tied to Joshua Jackson and his wife because Joshua Jackson and then his wife is Jodie Turner Smith, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
She's a
well,
British actress.
my last name Jackson Turner. So if you, it always comes up. Like, not that I'm like googling myself, but these if you do, they comes up with it just comes up with them. So.
That's funny. I didn't even think of that. Yeah. You're their kid or whatever.
Yay.
That's the big reveal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Pacey's been on a really dark journey too, of like, going through being cheated on, like in the first real intense relationship that he's had, where his first love, because Tamara was just him. I mean, let's be honest, like being assaulted. Like, she was a grown ass woman. We've talked about this. Tamara belongs in jail. But like, so Andy is his first real love, and he is betrayed in such a deep way. And that's why he's kind of just off on his own. And like he gets his boat that he starts to work on, and the SS True Love, which I have his little sign. That's another one of my favorite moments on the show, is when he's showing the sign. He's like, it's true love. It's kind of schmaltzy, but it's like a great idea. Like, this idea of true love being the thing that he wants to strive for. But like, will he ever finish this boat? Will he ever, will it ever happen again? Will it ever work again? And that tying together is beautiful, I think.
Yeah, no, he's great. I was really expecting Pacey and Jen, their sort of friends with benefits situation,
Ugh.
to go in a different way. I thought that actually this is kind of perfect. How has this not happened already? They both have the
That's
sordid past or so
to
to
me,
speak.
that's the genius of it, that they went, oh yeah, why haven't we done it? Why haven't we? I don't know. We just want something casual. Let's do it. And then they're like, this doesn't work because that's how you feel watching it. You go, oh yeah, why hasn't that happened? And then you go, oh yeah, because it's just not right. They're just friends. That's not their dynamic.
But it was handled really well from both of
Yeah.
them. They were both like, oh, it's not, and even there was a moment where Jen was really upset. It was around the Thanksgiving episode, I think. Oh, because her mom had come back, right? That was it.
Ugh,
And
yeah.
there was, drama with that. And then she wanted to, let's say, work out her emotions
Yes.
physically. And he was like, no, that's, you don't really want to do this. This is
Yeah.
he was like a gentleman about it. So yeah,
Yeah.
there was a great dynamic there.
Yeah, and I like that it doesn't overstay its welcome in that
Mm.
sense. Like they didn't keep that story going on too long. It's there, it's that you're teenagers, you're gonna kind of experiment. I don't think they ever had sex, by the way.
No,
I think
yeah, I
that
didn't think so.
they just kind of made out and they thought they were gonna go, but like they just don't have sexual chemistry. Like that's what I think it comes down to at the end of the day. There's
Mm.
nothing there, just
Yeah.
friendship.
Speaking of, as we're on Jen, Henry, let's talk about Henry. So this took
Yes.
me a while to work out where I knew this kid from. And I know him from Murder by Numbers. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah, years back.
With him and Ryan
He's
Gosling. He's like a psycho,
Yes. Yeah,
spoiler,
yeah.
he's a psycho like murderer.
He's a psycho. Yeah.
And I saw that in the cinema. You could say movie theater, right? Cinema, movie theater.
Both. Either
You
one.
say cinema as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes,
More like film people, like the Dawsons of America would say cinema sometimes. But yeah, movie a theater. Yeah.
on celluloid, but
Yeah.
and I really like that movie. I thought it was really good. And it's like before Ryan Gosling sort of blew up and everything. But yeah, I knew him from that, and he is
Michael
super
Pitt
in.
is his name, I believe.
That's it, Michael Pitt. Yeah, and he's super intense
Yeah.
in that movie because that's his character. But he's also super intense in this. Like he kind of starts out kind of chill, and he's Jack's friend, and helping Jack get
Yeah,
onto
Michael
the
Pitt.
team and everything.
Yeah,
But then it
he's
ends up really intense, like kind of stalkerishy, but in like a sweet way. He pays the, and we're now at
I
a
don't
position where he's come round and Jen's liking him.
I don't think Henry has aged well as a character, but
Mm,
I also think there is a strong emphasis, and they always say he's the freshman.
mm,
So Jen is 16, Henry is like 14, maybe going on 15. There's a huge difference in 14 and 16. Not in a it would be gross for them to be a thing if they wanted to be a thing kind of way, but in a just like the way that, and she's very mature in comparison, very ahead of all of her peers pretty much, right? I would argue that Jen is the most mature of all of the characters on the show. Even when she's being self-destructive, she knows what she's doing. She's
mm.
aware of everything. She just doesn't give a shit sometimes. um Whereas a lot of the other characters think that they're on that level, but they're not actually there. uh Henry is just, I don't know, he's also completely different from anything Jen has experienced, right? She had a light version of it with Dawson, but this kid is like head over heels for her. Like he's just enamored by her to the point where it's almost like this is too much. But
Yeah.
sometimes that's what love is, especially like a young, when when you first get to know someone, it's really intense.
Mm,
So I
yeah.
think he's an accurate portrayal of someone that age. I just think that we are all like, oh fuck, dude, you need to calm down, like be a little more respectful. Which, yeah, I mean, if I was Jack in that situation, I would have been like, you gotta fucking chill a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah, no, he's fine. But I think you just saying there that his meant to be 14 and she's meant to be 16. That's why I
Yeah.
can't think of them like that, because apart from the fact that he definitely wasn't,
Right.
he must have been like 20 or 19 or 20 or something in real life. But the episode that no, it wasn't the episode I just seen. It was
The one before, was it the Cape Fest?
yes, the
That's what I
one
was
before.
looking up. And that was not him singing. That could not have been him singing, right?
I
It was
don't,
too good and too like and too deep. He was, acoustic singing Bruce Springsteen. I was like, what the like every time I see that, I'm like, wow, okay.
but right, no 14-year-old is, on their own at a camp fest frying up vegetarian burgers, which great. Thank you, Henry. Yes, I will have one. Two, in fact. One for now, one for later. Just throw
Are
them
you
to me now.
vegetarian? Have we had
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Cool. I need some brand suggestions because I'm not, but I want to embrace more plant-based lifestyle stuff. Anyway, yeah, I get that. I understand.
I like to think of that. I do it in One Tree Hill as well. I have to think of them as in their like early 20s. It just that works. I think maybe because for me, I wasn't, not that I was ever on the back of a truck with an acoustic guitar singing, but I wasn't like that until I was like 22, 23. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't that confident or sort of knowing myself. Not that I'm saying that they're confident, but that just wasn't how I was until I was a bit older. So I have to sort of see them that way.
Right.
So
I totally get that. But okay, so in that scenario, Jen would be like 21, 22,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Henry's 18, fresh out of high school.
that
Like that's a
works.
huge difference.
That works for me
Yeah.
though. That
Yeah.
feels right, actually.
Right.
That feels,
So
and then
he's like, I don't, I'm starting college and I hate that I'm a virgin. Like, and I just want to be in love and like everything, like that's his vibe.
yeah,
And Jen's like, okay, well, I've already done my keg stand days. I'm done. Like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. And you're too young for me. But
exactly.
he's a persistent little dude.
Yeah, that's like bang on the money there. That's sort of
Yeah.
how I'd be interested how other people see it. How do
Yeah.
what sort of ages do they put it at? I mean, we were talking about this loosely before we started recording. Like I was saying I had my sort of rebellious teenage phase when I was sort of 16, 17, 18-ish, and then kind of just grew out of it. But so I don't feel I kind of became on the path of who I am, my being my true self from about like 21, 22, 23, that kind of age. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd agree. I like for me, if you listen to River Court, I was not out. I was still figuring my sexuality and stuff like that out. So I was like 22, 23, I think, when we were making that. That was around the time that I was starting to figure myself out, but not in a public way, in a very private way. So yeah, I would agree. Like that's the age where you're like, once you hit 26, your brain is like fully developed. I don't know. I feel like
The
my shit's still
frontal
going.
lobe. Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense that like
Apparently that's a real thing. Or when you're
it
about
is.
that, you then have the power to reflect properly, and that's why a lot of people do reckless stuff when they're younger, because they're not feeling that reflection afterwards
Yeah,
as
I've literally
heavy.
had therapists tell me that. Like I went to a therapist and I was like, well, yeah, and she was like, no, your brain's not even fully developed yet. Like you're still figuring things. You're just now reaching the point where you can figure this out. So yeah.
Yeah, I had years in like from my late 20s to now even of reconciling from everything before that. Like,
Yeah.
why did I do that? Oh, okay, it was this, that, and the other. What did I learn from that? Okay, this, that, and the other. Okay, I can let that go now. Like it's kind of, I think it's a process that
I'm still working through that. I'm still working through some of the like, you have to let go of that mistake you made 2 years ago or whatever. Like, you just have to forgive yourself. It's difficult. It's really
but
difficult.
you do have to, because it's all experience and it's all
Yeah.
learning that's got you to where you are now, and it's all, when we all do it, that's how you evolve. I put something on Instagram just yesterday that Effany said that was, you can't expect to go through life already grown. You have to
I love that. Yeah. That's so wise.
It was so nonchalant. She just, I was like, that's great. I'm using that. Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true. And yeah, and that's why these shows are great, because we are watching people go through that, and
Yeah.
go through these trials and tribulations. But yeah, I like him. I like Henry. Um, let's talk about Mitch and
I
Gail.
was just getting ready to say that's pretty much like the next thing. So Gail does come back. I know in the beginning you said that you were missing Gail. So which I would agree. I think she is missing.
I like
Um
Gail. And it was nice that she was part of that B&B. And it looks like, I mean, we don't know, but she went to look at the vacant restaurant or the place. He said
yes.
about they were going to open like a fish restaurant, and I think that
Mhm.
would be cool. I'm rooting for Mitch and Gail to get back together. I mean, they've been sort of all over the place, but you can tell
Yeah.
that there's that core love there. So I'm hoping that
There
will happen.
I will say in defense of their relationship now, there is something beautiful about a portrayal of people who it didn't work out romantically, but have love for each other and respect for each other.
Mm,
And they continue to just like parent their child together and be friends. Like there's something beautiful about that too. That being said, I'm rooting for them as well. It's just
yeah.
that there is that connection. It's hard to deny. I think that's why it pains Dawson to see them at the bed and breakfast, like playing the couple after Pacey asked them to do that, because it's like he thinks the same thing. He thinks like, why aren't you guys together? I don't understand this, but
Mm.
it's complicated.
And in Dawson's defense, he has dealt with that relatively well this season,
Yeah.
considering. So, and then,
He's dealt with it well, but he's also like, don't keep yo-yoing this. Like, don't keep going back and forth, like, because I can't deal with that, which is
mm,
which is a very kid thing of like, you guys figure your shit out. I just can't deal with, you know, the dynamic changing all the time because I don't know what's happening.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And I was going to put this out the other day, or yesterday or today even, when Graham sat down by the fire for the B&B episode and she started talking and everyone's getting in their positions, and it's a great scene. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, oh my God, if they wake up in the morning and Grams is dead, I am fucking
Oh
out.
no.
I am
No, no,
out. I was like, is
no.
this going to be her last words? No, this is terrible. Is she going off to be with her husband? No,
I
but she
I
didn't.
hate
Thank
to
God.
say I hate to say this, but that's a One Tree Hill viewer watching Dawson's Creek thinking that the most dramatic thing in the world has to happen, when in reality the drama comes from the small thing, which is this kid is falling in love with his best friend's girl.
Mm,
Not to put you guys know, and Joey is her own thing. But like in the sense of like how they would view, like, oh, that's Dawson's girl, like, like that's in this world that is he is the center of the universe. Dawson can be that selfish sometimes. Like
mhm.
that's kind of the theme.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, to go forward to like predictions, that is what I foresee happening for the rest of this season, is this turmoil of
The push
Pacey,
and pull. Yeah.
yeah, realizing his feelings and then talking to Dawson about it, or wanting to, or not sure whether
Mm-hmm.
to, even before he's spoken to Joey about it,
Yeah.
and seeing how that's going to go. I think Jack's going to continue. Oh, do you know what? Like sort of experimenting and pushing out of his comfort zone with his sexuality. But do you know what I liked was that he met, is it Ethan? I think it was
Ethan,
Ethan.
yes.
Yeah, from the train, and then
That
that's why
just
they went.
happened the episode before, right? Correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and that's why they went to Cape Fest. They
Mm-hmm.
should have done some Cape Fest t-shirts. We could have been all over that. But they
Yeah.
I like that Ethan was saying, no, look, you've got to go through your own heartbreak and these other things first. Let
Mm-hmm.
me be here as your friend, and that gives me the greatest opportunity to be here
I
long term. I like that.
Yes, I can explain that in gay terms, which is what we call a baby gay.
Okay.
When you are newly out, sometimes people will not be interested in, and I'm not saying this is not broad in everyone. Sometimes people will not be interested in a baby gay because it can be a heartbreaking situation. It can be a lot. It can be a very intense situation. And some people, I think Ethan in particular, who's like, I'm protecting my heart because I just got heartbroken, doesn't want to go into those waters.
Mhm.
Um, because it's just an intense time, basically.
Yeah,
So
people
yeah,
still
yeah.
working themselves out and working out what's yeah, that
Yeah.
makes
And
sense.
there's also a deep fear, and this is why people can be, I think, wrongly judgmental of bisexual people because they're like, they can view young, like a baby gay or bisexual as like, well, you're just going to go back to being straight. And it's like, no, first of all, everyone has to start somewhere as far as figuring themselves out. And second of all, bisexuality is its own valid thing. And it's completely like intertwined with us and both separate at the same time. Like you have your, you're still queer, like you're still in this world. So
Hmm.
no, you can't be judgmental of that. Um, but yeah, I that said, it's not judgment for him to say, hey, I can't participate in this right now because I'm worried about myself. Like that's just consent and boundaries.
Hmm.
He's not judgmental of Jack being young and figuring it out. Ethan, I think, is supposed to be like 19 or 20. He's not that much older. He's in college. Um, so he's not, I like that he's not passing judgment on Jack and all of that. He's just saying, hey, I got to put up a little bit of a wall here. We're just going to be friends. Like, and that's it. And I love that as well. Like, it's a really interesting dynamic to throw at Jack.
Yeah, and Jack gets some validation. I think that's kind of what he
Yeah.
wanted. He was like, "Oh, so you're not into me? You are." And then Ethan was like, "Well, no comment," but it was said in a way of like, really, he is it. He is like attracted to him, and that's kind of
I
maybe what he needed. Just he needed to know something like that for now, just to feel like good about himself.
Yeah, I've felt that. I've in the beginning, in the past, that feeling of you need to know that they're going, like, that you can be looked at in that way.
Mm,
Because if in the past a guy has liked me, for example, in the past Jack has had girls like him. He's
hmm.
dated girls. He's even had sex with a girl. Like, he's talked about that.
Oh, I don't
But
remember that.
what?
I don't. I'm sure it has happened. I'm not
He
saying you
did,
put a
because
spoiler out.
he
I'm
said
just
in
saying I can't remember.
the painting episode, he was remember he was describing it to Joey, and then
Yes.
yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. And
So
we thought they were
like,
gonna have sex. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember.
yeah, I think he said he's only done it like once or something like that. But either way, um that can be completely hollow and just a thing that has never given him any excitement or validation. That's kind of hard to, like, that might be hard to understand, but like, it was never as deep as, if I had to say what Jack probably felt in that moment of, oh, Ethan was attracted to me because of, like, they laugh, and yeah, him knowing that a guy he's attracted to is attracted to him as well, even if nothing ever comes from it, probably felt better than every kiss, every hand holding, every interaction he ever had with the girl. Because this time there are stakes. This time
Mm,
it feels real. This time it's the thing that he actually wants. So,
mm,
yes, I agree. Validation is huge in that moment. It lets him know for the first time that he is desirable to the thing he desires, to the
mm.
person he desires.
Well
And
said.
that changes everything.
Yeah, he's like been seen for the first time in that way,
Yes.
or we know that he is aware of. Um, yeah.
Yeah, we know that women on the show find him attractive. Like Abby said he was gorgeous, and Joey found, that's it's not going to hit the same way. It's not going to feel the same way.
Yeah, and when they went to the college, was that meant to be Harvard? Was that implied?
They never say Harvard on the show. There are a lot of colleges in the Boston area. I think they're in real life, there are like 5 colleges in that, just within like 20 miles of each other. It's really crazy. Um, no, it's not meant to be Harvard. I don't think it's meant to be Harvard. Let me look up
I
if
only
it
say
says what
that because
college.
Andy was going crazy about Harvard in a previous episode. But when they in that episode and Jack goes off and he goes through the pink pages, is it? And then he goes to like the
Oh my God, the pink pages. Yeah.
right. I'd never heard of that before, but
I
I
don't know if that
can
was, I don't know if that was real. I assume it was. I mean,
right,
how
okay.
else were you going to find we live in a different world now with the internet.
Right. But when he goes into the gay bar and then he's very unsure, and then like straight away this guy's like, yeah, I'll get you a beer, and he's like super keen, and eager, and Jack kind of just bails. I thought all of that was sort of just done well and showing they're
Hmm.
doing a slow burn with it, and it feels a bit more grounded. It buys me into it more. I think it's pretty, basically it's my favorite. I think it's my favorite storyline because
Yeah.
it's the most consistent storyline. Like as
Yeah.
much as okay, Joey and Dawson and this that, and the other,
Right.
but this is one person and their journey, and you don't need another character to be involved. It's very different from like Andy. They don't know what to do with her because
Hmm.
she doesn't have a single thing going on apart from that she's fucking annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
We're in a
with
rough spot with Andy, not gonna lie. It's not our season 2 Andy that we loved.
yeah, and we've had this before. I mean,
Hmm.
like with Jen, for example, I found her frustrating in the first couple of seasons, but
Yeah.
it sounds like this is going to be different because with Jen, we've got to this place so we can look back on them seasons and be like, well, this was
Hmm.
growing pains and experience and whatever. But it feels like with
Yes.
Andy,
Yeah.
we've just gone off road,
Hmm. Yeah. I
It-
won't disagree with you there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that Jack is one of the most beloved characters of Dawson's Creek. So people will, I mean, I'm sure we will get listeners writing in saying they agree with you, because I know he's one of my favorite characters on the show for sure.
did you say what did you say you disagree? What did you disagree with?
Did I say I disagree? I'd say I won't disagree with you
I
there.
won't
Meaning I
disagree.
won't, no, I won't disagree with the Andy part. Like that she
Got
is,
you, got you.
I can't defend Andy in all of this. Like she's cheating on the PSATs. She's,
That was
yeah.
crazy. That was crazy. She's got to get found out for that. That has to be found out at some point, surely. Surely.
Which, by the way, do you guys have the PSATs
We
or
have,
SATs?
yeah, we have SATs, yeah,
So like
but they're
the
not that important though
PSATs,
here.
the well, they are important. Well, they were important to get into colleges, particularly the SATs. The PSATs are very important for scholarships and for things like that. So her emphasis on like getting good PSAT scores, it's more important for Joey than it is, I
Mm.
think. Because like, well, they don't have money either, though. I don't know. I'm just like, this is this feels weird, but it made sense that Andy would do it, like of all of them.
Well, we have yes, it does. Well, we have SATs, but that's when you were younger. We have something that's called GCSEs, which is basically your final exams when we finish high school. But like I said, high school for us is like
Different.
middle school, and then we go to what we call college, which is basically like your last 2 years of high school, and then we go to university, which is what you would call college.
Okay.
But
So
but
these exams determine money that you get, acceptance and money that you get for university
right, we have
in
exams
America.
like that, but these exams they determine what university you can go to. Like
Yes.
they'll set a condition that will accept you, but you have to have these grades, and these grades are done on these exams. So it
Do you
literally
guys pay
there's
for college the same way that we do, where it's like very expensive to go to college?
not as expensive as your colleges are. I
Of
mean,
course.
I believe I think they've just changed the law on this. I people well, I have to check afterwards, but there was a point where every university or college they had to charge the same. That it doesn't matter whether it's Oxford and Cambridge or
Holy shit.
lesser ones, it was the same amount that you'd pay like per term or whatever, which what I'm again, people might, I can only talk about my own experience, but you know, it's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 thousand a term or something like that. And then uh but
Wait.
I think they've changed the laws now where the universities can charge what they want. So now like the Oxford and Cambridges can charge crazy amounts and lesser colleges can charge less. Where I know where when I was with the Special Olympics and I volunteered and we stayed in USC in California.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to some people there and they were saying that some people were paying like 100 grand a year, like in for their
Yep.
college, which is like that's absolutely insanity.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm in a less expensive college and I get scholarships and stuff, and yeah, it's expensive. Very
That's
expensive.
that's crazy.
And it's a public university. So, if you get in a private, which was what Harvard would be, for example. Yeah. And then the college that they were looking at is like a public, it seems like it was supposed to be a public university, but they didn't say an exact, I looked it up. They didn't say an exact name of the college, I don't think, at least not as far as it's listed on the Wikipedia. But I think they end up calling like it like Boston College or something. Like it's just I don't know. It seems like a generic university that I want to get into, you know?
I mean, I feel fortunate that it was. I mean, it was still expensive, you know, relative to us anyway. But I feel when I went to university, it was a bit of a waste of time for me. Like I didn't study, I didn't do any of those things. I mean, I got through it, but I with a lot of help. But I was there because it was what I thought you were supposed to do, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just sort of the pathway. Um, but the best thing that came out of it for me was the summers and working away. I learned so much
Yeah.
more there than I did at the university. And if I was to go back, I would have just gone straight into I would have just worked, I would have just traveled. But
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that at least it wasn't like 100 grand a year, you know. That,
Yeah. I know people that have done exactly what you're describing, which is bullshit around at those prices. Yeah.
yes.
That happens
Oh,
too.
that's painful.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
now
mean,
they're
I
still
feel
paying off their
guilty.
debts.
I feel guilt. I mean, I'm lucky. My parents, you know, like saved and paid my tuition. But I feel guilt. I apologize to them quite often that, that I didn't, you know, it's okay. It worked out in the end. Like you know, I've done okay. But uh, it's rough. It's rough. I mean, you're still studying, right? So I mean,
I
are
went
you
back to
in?
school.
Oh, you
So
took a
I
gap
I
and
got into college right out of college, and then I ended up I took years off because I was helping my father build his businesses. And then like, 2 years ago, or as of now 2 years ago, I went back and now I'm finishing up my degree. So, yeah.
that's awesome. See, that's the way I would like to do it because I would really enjoy it now because I'd be into it for the right reasons, you know,
I
into
do
the
enjoy it. I don't feel as like sharp as like I'm struggling through math right now to finish up the last of my like basic courses, and then everything from this point forward is going to be my the rest of my bachelor's, finishing off my, I don't know if you guys do like that, bachelor's, and okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be finishing off the rest of my bachelor's. But yeah, it's just it's different, in good ways and in bad ways. I don't have the um like dorm room experiences and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't care. Who cares? But yeah, like it's so it's interesting. But anyway, back to the show. The college thing, yeah, they're kind of working through that. That's going to be a thing, where they're like, there's that pressure of college coming up, everything like that, because they're juniors now. So they say that's the most important year for colleges. The one thing I want to talk about before, so you've kind of made your predictions and everything like that. I want to talk about Escape from Witch Island.
Oh yeah, I like that one. It
because
scared the shit out of me.
so it did scare you. They do
Yes.
that sometimes on this show, man. Some of the like really, really scary moments were like, shit, how did they pull that off? I thought it was good. I'm not a huge fan of the Blair Witch Project. I thought this was like a better version of that, even though it's supposed to be a knockoff.
I haven't seen the Blair Witch Project. Like I
It
know,
doesn't hold up.
right, and I know the gist. I get it. But I've mainly
The
seen it like parodied. You know.
the best part, the best thing you can do with the Blair Witch Project, in my opinion, is read the Wikipedia of how it was made, basically. And then go on YouTube and watch like the last 10 minutes of the Blair Witch Project or something like that. I
Okay.
know it's crazy, but like the most happens in that. And then you can read the behind the scenes of how they made the movie. But it's just it doesn't hold up. Like it's very much of the time. They could get away with things because the internet was very limited and not a big, big thing. But yeah, I wanted to make special note of that episode because I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I liked it, and I liked how it was just off brand a little bit. You know, like
Yeah.
it was different to the other episodes surrounding it, and yeah, I like the sort of meta points of it of being, you know, oh, you're just trying to rip off the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Like and obviously that must be close to around the time of when that came out. So
They do the same thing with the Eve storyline where they're like, she's your femme fatale. Like
mm,
it's a noir. Like they're they're doing a more obvious than what Kevin Williamson did approach to like it's film, like it's all movies, everything's tied together. They get better at it as the season moves along, I think. But the Blair
yeah,
Witch one is much better than the Eve storyline.
yeah, for sure. Like this feels like right now it's in its stride of the best Dawson's Creek episodes that I've seen. I'm
Yep.
really enjoying it. I'm like nostalgic for the first season and the second season already because they feel
Mm-hmm.
different. Like saying like
They
One
do.
Tree Hill, they tone shift, you know. So it'll be interesting to see how I feel at the end of what my favorite season is, because
Yeah.
in One Tree Hill, my favorite season is the first season.
Oh, okay.
Even though I think there's more exciting moments, you know, in the middle and whatever, but I like that it feels nostalgic season one, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Dawson's Creek, the first season already feels nostalgic because it's like, oh, those were the times that you know, our baby was really small, and you know, he's not
Yeah.
small anymore. Well, he's still small, but you know, it's not like that, and so it already feels like a nostalgic time. So yeah,
Yeah.
all in all, I'm loving it. I'm loving Dawson's Creek.
Good.
I'm definitely going to get through these next 12. The reason I wanted to do this one quickly, and I'm grateful that you was, you know, able to record so quickly, was so that I don't have to stop watching.
Yeah. Yeah. You can immediately go watch tomorrow your time. Well,
Yes,
that's different because I was gonna say later, but you're it's very late at night for you. So
I still might do it, but
go for it.
I was hoping it was going to be here, except we're in the middle of a mini heat wave at the moment here in the UK. But
Yeah.
uh, I have a Capeside Chats hoodie on order. Um, People, if you don't already, check the show notes. We have Capeside Chats hoodies, t-shirts. No, just hoodies. If you want a t-shirt, let me know. We'll hook it up.
Yeah.
Black, white, and they have Back to You Bob on the back of it. Come on, that's a
Yeah.
throwback.
Yeah. I have the hoodie, but I didn't bring it in for this. So I'll have to for the next episode. I'll have to show off the hoodie.
For sure. I made the logo a little bit smaller to try and differentiate it. So it's like got a small, you'll see, it's dope. So we
Cool.
got options. But okay, great. So the next one of these will come out a lot quicker. Is there anything else you wanted to add about the first
No,
half of this
I don't
season or
I
anything
don't think I
else?
have any questions or anything like for you either. So I'm just excited for you to get into like we are as of this 12th episode, we're getting into some of my favorite episodes of the series. So I'm very excited.
Excellent. I can't wait. So we'll keep everyone up to date. We'll have the links below for Lex and Matt's excellent adventure. Check that out. one of my favorite weekly podcasts. I was saying to you the other day, every Saturday it's released, and I usually have it done by the end of the weekend. Love that. And then if you're a One Tree Hill fan, or even if you're not, the Ravens, a One Tree Hill podcast. Lex, you've been on like maybe 4 episodes at this point.
Something like that. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I'm just a fan of that as well. I listen to it. I was telling, it's funny because I was telling you the other day, I was like, even if we weren't friends, I'd listen to you guys on this because it's just a great conversation.
Well, thank you. And same. Well, I already did that. I listened to
Yeah.
you before we were friends. So,
Yeah.
uh, and then coming up soon, Lex is going to be part of a special How We Would Have Written It for Scream 5. So Scream 5 is coming out, I think
Next
later
year.
this year,
What?
potentially next year.
It
Not
might have gotten
sure.
pushed back because of COVID.
Yeah. And they haven't released, I don't think there's any information on what the story is going to be, but it
No, they
has.
are keeping it locked tight. It's 2022,
Okay.
January 2022. So like right away. Yes, please.
They've got a load of the core cast in it, so
Yeah.
we're gonna have a panel together, and we're gonna do a how we would have written it, our own, individual pitches for what we would have put forward. You
Mm-hmm.
won the last one, didn't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I have never won. Never won. Always second. That's what happens when you get Jake to shoot Lucas. No, Lucas to shoot Jake.
Yeah, that was, dude, that still makes me laugh. That clip you posted of me laughing, I'm like, yep, that killed me. It was so good.
Thank you. We'll have to do a Dawson's Creek one at the end. If there was like, how could we reboot Dawson's Creek? What would the pitch be? Obviously, I have no idea
Yeah,
how it
yeah.
ends, but
I would like to do that. I don't want to ever see a reboot, but or continuation, but I would like to discuss that. I think that'd be interesting.
excellent. Well, if you want to get at Lex, you can on Instagram at Lex Lutz.
At the Lex Lutz. Yeah. At the
The
Lex Lutz.
the give me the
Yeah, I
loot.
couldn't
The
get
Lex.
Lex Lutz. I had to put the in front of it. I'm also at period Lexcellent on TikTok. So if anyone wants to follow me on TikTok,
I'll put the links below for that, and then you can get me on Instagram at Simon Podcasts. And yeah, appreciate you all listening. Appreciate you, Lex.
this was fun.
Back to you, Bob.
Bob.
Back to you, Bob. Excellent.